Our morning discussion, as usual, we normally take time and discuss very vital and relevant topics that are of quite importance to you. And if it is Wednesday, definitely you know it's matters to do with your health. Like I mentioned, we are killing two birds with one stone, and definitely we are now set for the first bird, and we will be discussing malnutrition assessment, specifically to the children who are under age and of course underweight here. Do you understand what exactly is malnutrition? What are some of the causes of malnutrition? How then can you see yourself if you're facing the malnutrition aspect of it? And how can you treat malnutrition? That is what we are discussing now. We'd like to engage you into the program. What do you think about the topic of our discussion? What is your experience going forward? How did you deal with malnutrition? Did you manage to get well with the malnutrition thing? How did you juggle out between making sure that you eat well and make sure that you are nutrient, so to speak? And to help me shed some bit light concerning this topic is none other than my guest who understands matters to do with nutrition. Is a clinical nutritionist at Portrees Sub-County Hospital here in Mombasa, and is none other than Mr. Finlay, right on my very left side. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Mr. Shadrach.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Right.
Yeah.
For the benefit of my viewer there, who exactly is Mr. Finlay?
Yeah. Finlay is a nutritionist at Portrees Sub-County Hospital, practicing the hospital level. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So you only deal with nutrition and stuff about
managing nutritional disorders comes about inadequate nutrient intake or overtake more nutrients than what your body needs. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In your line on duty, first and before even we get to the malnutrition thing,
yes.
Do you feel in the different cases that you've gotten to deal with, how would you assess our whole aspect of nutrition, we as a people we are living? Do we eat right, or what can you say about it?
We are not doing right as a country, so according to the assessments I've done, because some of the health conditions that we are facing as we speak, they are related to nutrition. Like 80% of the conditions that we are going through, they're going to admission and other issues, is due to inadequate nutrient intake or taking more than what your body needs. Actually, health revolves around nutrition.
The whole aspect of health revolves around nutrition.
Yeah, actually what you eat is what determines your health. It is the cornerstone of your health.
Right.
Yeah, because the immune system draws its strength from the nutrients we take daily. Yeah, it plays a very important role when it comes to health.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true. Quite a topic that we are having a discussion this morning, and like my guest has mentioned, it's quite a cornerstone of your health. Your health revolves around what you take in as your nutrition. And coming back to the malnutrition now, maybe in a layman language, what exactly is this malnutrition that we are talking about here?
Malnutrition is a state of the body which arises from inadequate nutrient intake, imbalance of nutrient, or taking more nutrient than what your body needs for its activities. For this I mean, malnutrition is divided into two. We have overnutrition and undernutrition.
Right.
Overnutrition is when you take more nutrients than what your body needs, and it leads to obesity. After obesity, you become at risk of lifestyle conditions like diabetes, hypertension, and others going forward. Undernutrition arises due to inadequate nutrient intake, or there is increased demand of nutrients in the body, and that causes an imbalance. When that happens, your body suffers from the weakened immune system, and when the immune system is weakened, you are at risk of infections. Yes,
right.
That's the point. That's the role of nutrition when it comes to our health. Yeah.
Right. Now, looking at malnutrition, it's quite a broad topic, but of course we want to narrow it down to the children now, simply because it's quite a situation with our children in the country currently. And in your own assessment, looking at the children, of course, you've dealt with malnutrition in the hospital there. Do you feel like our children are so good in terms of the nutrition aspect now?
We are not doing well. We have a big percentage of children which are underweight, stunted, some of them are wasted. These are some of the indicators we use when sorting them out so that we be able to attend to their needs. Yeah.
Right. Supposing I'm a parent,
Yeah.
and I may not understand the chemistry point of view, the medical side of view of how malnutrition occurs in the body, you know. Are there things I'm supposed to note that I should see and tell me my kid is not doing well as far as malnutrition is concerned?
Yeah, sit back and relax, because after this show, you'll be good to go. When you say it, it's okay that you be able to tell that my child is suffering from this one.
Right.
One can be raw body weight.
Right.
Raw body weight, depending on the age of the child.
Okay.
We take parameters, we take anthropometrics. Anthropometrics for this case, I mean, we take the length of the child, or the height of the child, and the weight. From there, we can be able to do the set scores. There is a chart we normally use in doing the set scores. That's why we have 3 parameters.
Right.
So, and then we do a graph. That's why mothers are asked to take their children to the hospital every month, so that we'll be able to tell if they are doing well, or if they are on the right track to health. Yeah, one thing, as you said, is raw body weight for age, right?
They are at the body weight now.
Yes.
Let's take for instance now, if my son or daughter is 1 year old,
Yes.
at what amount of weight does he or she supposed to have?
That depends on the length of the child or the height of the child. It's
So the
not
weight
fixed.
must go hand in hand with the height.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's why when you talk of undernutrition, we have 3 indicators. One indicator is wasting. Wasting means you are so thin for your height.
Right.
And that tells us we take your weight and height. These are the parameters we use.
Right.
Use weight and your height. We'll be able to determine where you are depending on that parameter. Once we've gotten the result, we do the scores.
Right.
That's -1 as a grade difference. As in the way we say it is in grades. You have the first grade, the second grade, and the third grade. The first grade, it's mild, which means it is starting to set in. Grade 2, that's -2, -2. And now you are moderate. We are dealing with moderate wasting. And the grade 3, this is severe wasting.
Right.
Yeah. And then we have another indicator. That is weight for age. So we take the weight and we plot the graph against the age of that child. For that one, we call it underweight. So that as well, we have grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3, right? So in the other terms, you can say -1 standard deviation, -2 standard deviation, and -3 standard deviation.
Right.
And another one that we don't manage, but it is still there. We are dealing with the stunting. Stunting is inadequate height for age.
Right.
Actually, they look normal, but they are affected. Actually, it even affects brain development.
Right.
If it's not corrected after 2 years, after 2 years, there's nothing you can do about it. So intellectually, you are affected.
Very true.
That's why.
Right.
Sorry?
You know, the way you sound here, it's so complex that to the local mwananchi and that mama mzazi pale nyumbani is not getting the point at which it sounds like so chemical and medical. If I'm a parent at home,
Yes.
are there indicators that can tell me my son or daughter is not doing right as far as malnutrition is concerned?
Yes.
Like maybe when we are used to, maybe he's oversleeping or he's sleeping less or he doesn't play. Are there things that I can see at home before I even come to you?
Wow. There is a low appetite. Unable to eat well.
Right.
Unable to eat normally. Right? There is swollen stomach. Right?
Right.
And at times, we have swellings on the legs and the arms, plus the face. That we call, in the medical term, we call the edema.
Right.
But for the layman, it's a swelling. Right?
Right.
An African child, the hair is supposed to be black, but then we found them with brown hair.
Right.
Right? And then they are not playful. They're not brave. You see, children are brave most of the time. They're learning here and there. But for this one, malnutrition or undernutrition for this case, they'll die. Right? And then there are times you find them emaciated. Yeah, you can look at the child and say that all is not right.
Right.
Sagging skin. Yeah?
Ameparara.
Ameparara vibaya sana. Yes. There's some of the things that you can't be able to see. And that's why we're urging the parents and other caregivers
Right.
to bring their children to the clinic for assessment so that we'll be able to guide them on what they should do every month.
Right.
Until their 50th birthday.
Right, very true.
Yes.
Right. And looking at our home, unajua kuswala zima la kuparara pia tunatumia maji ya kisima. Unajua huko ni pwani, maji ya kisima yako mengi, sasa yanapararisha mwili. We can even mistake that to be malnutrition, but we're not saying so. You should carry your kid and take he or she to the hospital there. But Bwana Finley, is malnutrition, what causes malnutrition in the first place?
We have quite a number of causes of malnutrition. One, it can be diseases, right? It can be like heart conditions, which prevents a child.
Diseases like what?
Diseases like maybe like say like cancer. Like there's some children are born with diseases or they catch diseases along the way.
Right.
Right? So these diseases, they increase the demand for nutrients. And now when the intake is not matching the demand, so they cannot grow normally. So what happens? They become undernourished.
Right.
It can be, one I've said this. Another thing, it can be the level of education. Education can lead to malnutrition. How? Having food is one thing, and preparing food the right way is another thing. So maternal education or the caretaker education plays a very important role in this thing.
Right.
Right? That's another factor to look at. It can be family planning. Family planning. You say a woman has a young child, right? Let's say like 5 months or 6 months or 3 months, and they're already pregnant with another child. Now the shift now goes to the child, to the unborn child. They stop other activities like breastfeeding and taking good care of this other child who cannot fend for themselves. Okay. Yeah, family planning is also another factor. We have natural calamities. We do have drought. Drought, yeah, which affects now crop growth. So it means that when there's no food, there's nothing you can eat. It can lead to malnutrition.
Right.
The other factor can be floods. Right?
Right.
So floods, they can sweep away everything and everything, right? So there's no food for this child to be given. That's another factor which can lead to malnutrition. The other one can be violence. Violence. Like if I can take you back to 2007, when people are displaced due to political tensions and other factors,
right,
it can lead to the same because people lose almost everything, right? And we have cases like now HIV, right? There are children born to the parents living with HIV. At times they are infected.
Right.
These ones who are infected. So when they are infected, and this child gets the infection, and now this one demands for more nutrients. When there is the increased demand for nutrients, and the body cannot take all that, right?
Right.
It leads to undernutrition. So there are a number of factors. Alcoholism was also there. Yeah.
Very true. Yes. Right. You know, we live in a society where we compare and contrast.
Yes.
For instance, like if I'm a father and I'm slim and 1 GB like now I am, but I may have a wife who is, you know, ako vizuri in terms of body size.
Yeah.
And we get a daughter who takes the body of the mom.
Yeah.
Does that mean that we should also try and look into the issue about malnutrition there? You know, genes and issues about biological things. Don't you think also they play a key role in the efforts of that are being made with the malnutrition aspect now?
Yes, therefore, and the same. But apart from the genes, children or even youth, the way we are brought up, that's the way we tend to live, right? But for us to be able to conclude on the same, we should be able to do the assessment.
Right.
And then we advise them accordingly, regardless of the genetic makeup. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So those who say like, huyu amechukua mwili ya babake, si ati ni mgonjwa. Ushasikia statement kama hizo?
Yeah, but I treat that as a myth because your body cannot be built by stone, soil, or timber. It is the nutrients you take. Yeah.
But daktari, kuna vitu zingine utasikia huyu hata akakula nini haizi nona, hii ni mwili ya babake.
Can you say maybe you come from a family whereby you're used to eating, right? Where there is a lot, right? That's how they draw.
Right.
Yes. It's rare to find people who are struggling, who don't have food and they are overweight. They are, in some cases,
Okay.
stress leads to overweight, but it's a smaller percentage. Most of the time, it's what we eat.
That leads to
90% is what we eat. Yeah.
Right.
If it's genetical, we can refer that to endocrinologists. There are doctors who deal with the same, and we bring the problem to an end.
Right.
Yes.
The issue about malnutrition in our children now.
Yeah.
At what point do I as a parent need to look into that issue about malnutrition? Do we have an age factor there that we think like if my kid gets to a certain age is where I'm supposed to look very seriously on matters about malnutrition, or it's a continuous process?
It's a continuous process. Actually, it starts from conception.
Conception like?
Like when a lady conceives, right? That's where it starts.
Right.
We call it the first 1,000 days. And it starts from the day this lady conceived to the second birthday of this child. That one is a very critical area, like the mother's nutrition. That's why we discuss.
It's very key.
Very key. Yeah.
So-
It determines how far that child can go. Yeah, that's why most of the time we advise them not to take alcohol, not take some stuff while they are pregnant. Yes.
Right.
Because they directly affect the child. Sorry for interjecting.
No problem. Looking at the point that you're talking about malnutrition, looking into the issue about malnutrition and whatever the mother's supposed to eat and the kid starts from conception point of view there.
Yes.
Do you feel like this education, whatever you're saying here, it's out there to people? Do they understand whatever we are talking about here, or still there is a gap in terms of educating people on matters to do with nutrition?
There is a gap, but we're closely working with the government, with the county government as well, and other partners to address this issue. Yeah, we work with the partners in educating them right from conception. That's why that's why we cannot separate malnutrition and ladies who are at the reproductive age.
Right.
They are tied together. Yeah.
Right, very true. Now, most people blame you that once we go to the hospital seeking some bit of guidance concerning what we should eat, you give us quite a list of things you're supposed to be eating, and there's issues about hard economic times, talk about COVID-19. You know, how do we get to balance between eating right, getting the right nutrient, and how we get how we source the food from whatever part we sources? You see, issues about economy here and what we should eat right. How do we balance the two?
It's very easy. You don't need to be rich to eat right.
What do you mean?
Yeah, actually all you need is knowledge and you can live. We can improvise.
Daktari, umeniandikia nikule maini kila siku and you're telling me I'm not supposed to be rich.
It's not right. It's not mine only. There is a way you can eat. Like for instance, in our local setting, all of us can access Ugari. If not all of us, some of us, right?
Right.
A big number of us can access Ugari, right? So if you can access Ugari, you can get the vegetables, the green vegetables, right?
Right.
And then we can access 8 cereals. We can have beans, right? We can have lentils, right? Cowpeas. They are all here. All you need is just to choose Sunday have a balanced meal.
Right.
Like you can have Ugari, maybe with spinach and beans. That's a balanced meal. It's
Right.
not expensive to do. Yeah.
If you were to advise, and looking at how the situation is like in terms of the efforts that we are making in malnutrition, and the kind of situation that you talked about earlier that we are not doing right as it should be, what can you advise exactly?
We need to eat healthy. We need to eat healthy because if we don't eat healthy, finally it will get you down. It will corner you at some point.
What is this eating healthy?
Eating healthy means at least you take 3 main meals. That is breakfast, lunch, and supper. Make your supper lighter. not very heavy, right?
Supper.
Supper, yeah? And then you take 2 snacks. It's called a 10 o'clock snack and 4 o'clock snack. Like we are doing. You can take a cup of tea, you can take a cup of porridge, you can take a fruit.
Dr. Do you know we are in Africa?
Yes.
Now, when you mention taking a light supper, you know, and most of us from our home areas, we eat a big ugali during the night so that we can sleep.
Yeah. That's where we get it wrong. Yeah. Because at night, we are not very active, right? That's why you should take a small portion in the evening to maintain the heartbeat, blood circulation, and to keep you warm, right? So during the day, like breakfast and lunch, you're supposed to eat heavy because you need the energy. So what happens if you take a very heavy supper,
Right.
you like you to go to obese. And when you are weighing more than your height, you are at risk of lifestyle conditions like
Right.
diabetes, hypertension, as I mentioned earlier, and then kidney issues, right? Then we have heart conditions. Then why should you expose yourself to all of this when you can't control?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, looking at a malnutrition kid,
Yes.
can we help this kid to get well?
That's what we're doing. It's possible. As I mentioned earlier, if I can touch on some 2 things before we can go to the management.
Now,
We have 3 indicators. Indicators means what can you look at and say this child is undernourished.
right?
One is wasting. Wasting, I said, the parameters we use is weight and height. Yeah?
Right.
And another one is underweight, weight and age. The other one is stunting. It's height for age. So in our context, we only manage the 2. We manage underweight, we manage wasting, right? But stunting we cannot manage because it's a permanent problem. It has happened. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
Now, let me quickly go to the management. And you've asked now, how do I go about it once it has happened?
Right.
It's not a life sentence for the 2. It can be collected. That's why I'm there as a nutritionist. We are there and my colleagues in other facilities. This is what happens. We have 2 phases of managing malnutrition.
Right.
There is the outpatient phase and the inpatient phase, right?
Okay.
Let me start with the inpatient phase. When we admit them to the inpatient phase, these are children from the age of 6 months to 5 years. They are put on therapeutic feeds.
What is that?
Therapeutic feeds is a kind of formula which has been made in a way that to meet the needs of the child who is undernourished. We have 2 formulas. One is called F75. It's like milk. It's like powdered milk in the layman's language, but it's medication. So that's what we start with for any patient. And then we switch, once the child stabilizes, we switch to F100. It's another formula, right? So from there,
Right.
we keep them for some time. Then we discharge them to outpatient for further management. Yeah.
So that's the inpatient now point.
Now that's the inpatient care. If I can say something about the inpatient,
Before we even go to the outpatient thing,
yes.
at what condition do you get to know this one needs to be an inpatient care?
All right. A good question. So when they come to the clinic or when they are sick, first when they approach the hospital, we do the assessment, nutritional assessment. Of course, we check the weight, check the height. Then we do the SET scores. For the ones who are on -3 SET score,
Right.
or grade 3, or severe acute wasting, we admit them with complications. That is swelling of in medical terms called edema, the swellings in the arms and the rest, right? We do inpatient management. So when we take them for inpatient management, now we are not going home, you'll be with us for some time so that you'll be able to collect this condition.
Right.
Because it is just like any other diseases. Yeah. So we take them to the inpatient. Yeah.
Right. And now from the inpatient, let's come to the outpatient thing now.
Now, when they come to outpatient, maybe they've come to the clinic and do wide assessing. We identify that they are suffering from wasting. We manage the grade 2 and the grade 3. Grade 1, we counsel them. We advise them because it's mild. We consult them on how they're supposed to live with it.
Right.
Okay, for grade 2, we admit them into a program that's called supplementary feeding program. Whereby we give them supplements, they go home, they stay for 1 month, then they come back, we assess and they continue following them up. But for the ones who are in grade 3, that's severe acute wasting, we give them a supplement called LUTF, early UTF, ready-to-use therapeutic feed. Then we give them a free visit of 2 weeks.
Right.
We see them after every 2 weeks.
Free visit.
Free visit. We don't charge. We don't charge.
That was my next question.
Yes.
How expensive is it to manage malnutrition?
It's very expensive in the private sector, but in the government facilities, we do it free of charge. We don't charge even a single pop. All we need is that child who is undernourished, then we take care of them. Yeah.
Right. Out from the hospital now,
Yes.
if we get back home, do I as a parent need to do something to manage my nutrition kid?
Wow, a good question. We do it. Once we've identified the problem, because this child cannot be coming to the hospital throughout their life, we intervene. We interview the parent or the caregiver. We get to know where the problem is and we address it. Maybe it is food preparation.
Right.
Then we advise accordingly. We do nutritional counseling so that as we discharge them home, they know what to do. We've given them a platform so that they build on. We prevent the same from happening in the future. Yeah.
Right. If I as a parent now, my kid was suffering from malnutrition and I need to help the kid now to get well at home now, like for instance, the do's and don'ts, are there some that I need to do this and I'm not supposed to do this to my kid
Yes.
to manage the situation?
Yeah.
What are some?
Some of them, actually, the supplements we've given you, you don't share with all the children at home.
Okay.
That's the one don't, right? Let the child who is affected benefit from that. It's medication. So we don't abuse that one. That's a dose meant for that particular child. And then something also should do, we're supposed to do it right when it comes to cooking and feeding this child. Also, hygiene plays a very important role when it comes to this one. It should also be observed. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll find parents, you know, tunaishi na majirani zetu, you'll hear parents saying, huyu mtoto wangu hapendi kukula, mpaka nishikilie kiboko ndo akule. Is that a problem in malnutrition?
That's a problem. We should not threaten someone to eat. That's why they should be able to, they should come and see us so that we advise them on what to do on feeding. Maybe when the child refuses food, maybe you're not providing variety. If it's ugari, you're providing ugari daily. At some point, you lose appetite. So you see, children, they observe, right? Like now, you can change a little bit. If you cook ugari today, ugari, then tomorrow you can cook maybe rice, right? Ugari and rice, they're the same, but you've changed.
Right.
Yeah. The child will say, this rice, variety, right? If you cook beans today, tomorrow you can give like lentils. You can give a piece of fish. You can give like milk, right? You change it. Yeah. Variety.
Right.
You don't need to force your child to eat. You should be able to feed them with love. Yeah.
Maybe to add on that, people feel like it's normally a stage, that maybe a kid reaches a certain age and refuses to eat, mpaka umshikilie kiboko ndo akule. Is it a stage or it's just a myth, medically speaking?
It's a myth, medically speaking. What's lacking in action is maybe food preparation and the way this child is being fed.
Right.
Yeah, because a child is expected to eat because their growth rate is exponential. It's very high. The rate is very high of growth. That's why we should be able to provide the right nutrients all the time. Yeah.
Right. Now, let's come back to getting the education of whatever we are talking about here to the people out there. Do you feel like there is need for creation of awareness time and again about issues about malnutrition? And how far do you feel the government has done that concerning making sure that at least there is information to give the people out there?
Okay, the government is doing its part, but we have challenges. We have challenges like now with the pandemic of corona. We've not been able to do outreaches as it's supposed to be, but we are trying. We partner with the sub-county forces, right?
Right.
And the national government, so that we sensitize the community. We do vitamin A supplementation. There is a lot we are doing. Yeah, but we are going, as a country, we are going through tough economic times, but we are doing our part.
Right.
Yes.
Very true. And now that you're in that line of duty of malnutrition, talking about and dealing with issues about nutrition, do you feel also we need to maybe, is it a battle that we are not winning simply because the numbers continue to increase about our kids getting malnutrition? We also have adults who are also malnutrition. Do you feel also you are fighting something that is never coming to an end?
We are making good progress. We should keep up the good fight. We're making progress. Yeah.
So you do feel you can see light at the end of the tunnel?
That I'm seeing right from a distance. Yeah.
But where we are headed to, talking about the adults now,
Yeah.
it's said that we are likely to get more adults to be malnutritioned on the side of overweight, simply because with the kind of food stuff that we eat that are technically and technologically produced. Do you feel that's a concern to you?
A very big concern, because that is taking almost 80% of our hospital admissions. Actually, most of the admissions we have in the hospital is not communicable diseases. It's non-communicable diseases. Yeah. The disease that you cannot get from another person. It's light, we trace it to nutrition, like diabetes, hypertension. Most of the time we are in WhatsApp groups. We've seen people going to India for treatment,
Right.
for kidney transplant. When you look at them critically, it started from somewhere. They were overweight at some point.
Right.
They didn't manage. Then it went to diabetes or hypertension. It wasn't managed. Then it has killed the kidneys. Yeah. So people have a problem with adults. People, in the name of modernization, they've abandoned our natural foods. People are into chunky foods. Yeah.
Hawataki kula mchunga.
Out there, crowd chunga. All they want is chips and bottomless coke. They're good to go.
Right.
They feel it is classy.
Especially our ladies.
Yes. Yeah, but it is time we changed. Some of our ladies know that. Yeah, some are doing right.
Right. And to also an issue about the treatment and management of malnutrition, do you feel, especially to the adults now, do you feel exercise is quite key? Doing some bit of exercise here and there?
Very important, but it must go hand in hand with the nutrition. Yeah.
Right.
Exercise alone cannot help you. Nutrition alone cannot help you. They are tied together. Yeah. You must exercise and take nutrients like 30 minutes daily. Yeah, you want to live healthy, you want to avoid these issues, you have to live healthy.
Right. Healthy living is quite of an importance when we are talking about Wednesday, our Healthy Wednesday. That is what we are discussing this morning. How best can we deal and manage malnutrition? Quite a situation that we are having in the country. Here, a professional is talking about the issue that concerns. We are headed somewhere, but of course we need still to do something that concerns making sure that our kids, specifically those who are growing up, they grow up living healthy, and issues about their nutrition are put into consideration. And as usual, we'd like to engage you into the program as we gear up with the program, with the process and discussion this morning. We'd like to get to hear what you have to say concerning our topic of discussion. How did you manage malnutrition on your side? Did it work out with you? How did you do with how did you get along with it? And of course you can share your experience so that we may help somebody out there. If you have any question that is quite burning on your side as well, you can share it, and my guest who understands matters to do with the nutrition, simply because he is a clinical nutritionist at Portrees Sub-County Hospital, is here to make sure that he answers all your questions that pertains issues about malnutrition and nutrition. Last but not least here, before we even take a short break, looking at the government, and we need the government to pull up their socks concerning issues about nutrition. this whole focus that has been given at different diseases and different, talk about issues about cancer and issues about diabetes and HIV and corona, they should also give focus much on matters to do with malnutrition. What can you advise to the government exactly?
They should focus more on prevention and treatment. Prevention as in, we get more officers on the ground. The officers on the ground will prevent these conditions from happening so that we start treating. Like now, if we had so many nutritionists doing their work, we won't have obesity. You know, when there is no obesity, we don't have hypertension, we don't have diabetes. Then we don't need dialysis centers. Then we don't need cancer centers. All we need is we work on prevention, not on treatment. Yeah, more efforts should be put on prevention as we continue with managing the aftermath of poor nutrition.
Right.
Actually, there is a randomness best awarded words.
Right.
Eat your food as medication. Right? Eat your food or medication. Or you take medication as your food. Yeah.
You don't just eat.
Yeah, no. Eat your food as medication. If you don't do that, you will eat now medication as your food throughout your life. That's not
quite a very key point there.
Yes.
We should
eat your food as medication. Failure to do that, now you will take medication as food. Yeah.
Right. And you've mentioned a point there that you're looking to a situation where if at all we look into what we eat, then we may not need all these dialysis things and what have you. Can we get to that, to such a point as a country? Do you feel we can get there?
It is possible. All we need is the mindset and the sensitization. The government is doing well in the Agenda 4, whereby healthcare is one of the pillars, right?
Right.
Yeah. We need to support the government and do things like yeah.
Right, very true. Last but not least, what does it take to be a nutritionist? You know, I'm wondering, do you guys go learn about food and what have you?
No. So we are we are the healthcare providers. We go to medical schools, just like others. There are cluster points, right? It must match this course. Like now, it is done in different levels. People have done it on certificate level.
Right.
People have done it on a diploma level. People are doing it on a degree level. People are doing masters, PhDs, right? Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Right. And you've practiced nutrition, being a clinical nutritionist for close to how many years now in county?
I'm doing my third year.
So you've been around here?
I've been around here. I was in Cambridge. I had a short stint at Cambridge,
right,
Kirifi, after which I went to private practice, and now I'm with the government.
Right.
Yes.
Now, looking at this side of the coast, with the issue about malnutrition, how would you say, are we doing better than with other regions, or we are worse than compared to the other regions?
Actually, we're worse compared to other regions.
In cost now?
Yes.
Simply because?
Because our diet. Just walk around here, you find someone taking mahamri, viazi karai, right? These are raw carbohydrates.
Right.
Mahamri, viazi karai, prakti. These are raw carbohydrates. Actually, I wasn't employed in this country, in this county. I came in as a transfer from another county because there was no workload. The workload was low.
In the previous,
I felt because I had a short stint around there. I felt they need my assistance here more. Actually, I had a short stint at Churcham Hospital, so I understand the terrain here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the crisis. We are staring at a crisis. Like most of Mombasa, we are dealing with hypertension, diabetes, and other lifestyle conditions.
Right.
Like when you look at the data, we have so many amputations. And amputations is a complication of untreated diabetes. The blood sugar which is not controlled, then now it leads to amputations. We have so many amputees in Mombasa due to diabetes. And this is something which we should have collected.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah. If they want to find Mr. Finlay and seek his services concerning nutrition and what have you, where exactly can they find you?
They can find me at Port Reitz Sub-County Hospital, and they can reach me on my contacts.
Right.
Yes.
Definitely. Very true. And of course, you've not mentioned the contact you made.
Okay, you can call me 0729 481 291. Another line 0114 562024. Finlay Nyachenga, a nutritionist. Yes.
Right, based at Portrees Sub-County Hospital. He understands what he's saying here that pertains to malnutrition, specifically because he has dealt largely so on matters to do with nutrition. And I believe from whatever part of the country you've taken time to watch us, you've understood now what exactly is malnutrition, what causes malnutrition, signs and symptoms of malnutrition, and how best can you manage malnutrition. Specifically, today we were dealing with specifically the young children that we are having in our society. We'll create some time more to discuss concerning the adults and how you as an adult as well, you can make sure that you eat what is right to make sure that you get the right nutrition. And on that note, allow me now to take our second break. When we come back, we'll be entering into the second segment or the third segment of the show, where we'll be also looking at quite a topic that pertains to breastfeeding awareness in the country. What do you understand when we are talking about breastfeeding? What are some of the challenges our mothers are facing during the time and period at which they breastfeed? Like here, my guest had mentioned here, also nutrition is key in times of the whole process of childbirth and breastfeeding. We'll also be engaging our second guest, who also is a sub-county coordinator for issues about health in the sub-county of Mombasa and the sub-county of Changamwe and Jomvu. She'll be joining us in studio to shed some bit of light concerning this breastfeeding awareness week that of course began on Monday, that is the 2nd of August, and it's going all the way to August 7th, and she will be joining me to discuss more concerning breastfeeding awareness in Kenya, specifically in our locality in Changamwe and Jomvu. What are some of the strides that have been made in terms of the support of women who are breastfeeding? Remember that proposal that was supposed to, rather different areas were supposed to be mounted to allow women to breastfeed. We've had scenarios that women have had some bit of challenges, have been forced to breastfeed anywhere just like that. But of course, we'll be speaking about this matter as well. We'd like to hear from you. What do you have to say concerning that topic that is coming up next that concerns Breastfeeding Awareness Week? And I'll be engaging my guest, that is Madam Faki. She'll be joining me in studio in just a moment after this short break, so don't go too far. Brace yourself for this exciting show that is coming up next, Breastfeeding Awareness Week. Don't go too far.